Okay, so Azure Virtual Machines comes under Infrastructure as a Service. Am I audible? Just let me know.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir,
Okay,
we can hear you.
okay. So Azure Virtual Machines comes into Infrastructure as a Service part, where you have to manage all these things, and the rest of everything is being taken care by the provider. So what is virtual machines? So there is one hardware running. There is guest OS running. Inside guest OS, there is hypervisor. So this guest OS can be VMware EXI or Microsoft virtualization. So this is the guest OS running inside this hardware. It is also called as hypervisor. So inside hypervisor, you create virtual machines, different virtual machines. So about the virtual machine, it's just like your normal machine. There's CPU part, there's memory part, there's hard disk, your hard disk, that is CPU, memory RAM, storage, could be SSD, hard disk drive, or solid state drive, SSD. So this is the hardware part. When it comes to any machine. Here we are talking about virtual machines. So above this hardware part, there is operating system running. It could be Windows operating system. It could be Linux operating system running on this hardware, virtual hardware. And finally at the top, there's application running. So you can run any application inside this virtual machine. Depends upon your requirement. So when it comes to virtual machine, it is something we install above hypervisor. Okay, so there are different type of series of virtual machine like A series, B series, D series. Normally it's a basic series. First come basic series. It's for the development or test purpose. So A series, we have two basic. We'll see live in live demo what about this series and the support they provided. So basic one, there is another one standard one. So basically basic one is for testing purpose and development purpose. And when it comes to standard A series, it's for normal standard user purpose. They are B series virtual machine, that is the economical bursting. What do you mean by economical bursting? It's a thing like I bought a machine that has one CPU, there is RAM 2.5 GB RAM. If I'm not using this RAM for 3 hours, RAM and CPU, and suddenly I need a lot of power for 1 hour. So there will be credit edits added in the account. Like for 3 hours, one CPU is added. For 3 hour, 2.5 GB is added. When it comes to fourth hour, when our application or server require a lot of processing and RAM and all, so this will be added like 2.5 into 3. So now we have 2.5 available for this one, and apart from that 7.5 additional. Now we have 10 GB burstable. So it's for the bursting purpose. So suddenly we need any application need to be run very fast, or I mean we need some application that runs a regular interval and it needs a lot of processing power. If we'll buy a big size machine, then we have to pay a lot of amount for the whole this period, because it is, I mean, virtual machine is built per hour basis. So if we are buying a very heavy series like D series or E series or F series machine, in that case, what will happen? We'll have to pay a lot of money. But if we want to be economical and our application needs requirements, certain CPU intensive or memory intensive application requirement for certain hour or for a day or little less, then we can use this B series busting part. So at this point of time, for 1 hour, it will be 10 GB of RAM and one CPU, and it comes to when 1 hour, it will be 4 CPU. So credits are added in the form of CPU and RAM.
And so there is no additional cost we need to incur for this in this,
No,
right? If we are carry forwarding the CPU and the RAM use part.
no, there is no
Okay.
additional charge. Then there is T series, general purpose compute. It's for enterprise application. It offers premium storage as well. There are others like DC series for protect data in use. There are E series. It's a hyper threading purpose. It's a memory optimized application. So more memory, more powerful. It's like there's CPU, there's memory, RAM. So E series is RAM optimized, more powerful RAM. So they come in certain parameters like 2 CPU, 4 RAM. So this is the having more power towards the RAM. They are F series. This is more compute optimized, having more CPU in the same series. And there are few other series as well, like L series, M series, N series. Even the last one is GPU enabled, that is a highly graphic processing unit. So we can see in the portal itself. See this in the portal. So I'm going to create any virtual machine. Add virtual machine. So over here, when we are selecting a size, we can see all these size. So this is the basic entry one level A1 series having one virtual CPU, RAM, data disk, maximum input and output, temporary storage of 10 GB. Then there's B series. These are the burstable series having different powers like CPU, RAM, data disk 241. And when we'll come here, we'll see other parameters as well. So we can select any of these series like B series for burstable option. There are some heavy series like D series having, sorry, E series having a lot of CPU and RAM in order to process. So while selecting any creating any virtual machine, we can select how many virtual CPU, RAM or data disk we need, and we can add them as per our requirement and set up a virtual machine. Next, it comes to image. Then we have to select. I mean, initially I told you that there is hardware part where we select CPU, we select RAM, we select disk that comes with initial configuration. Then we'll go building a OS over it. So when I'll come to here, you can see different options of OS available here. Ubuntu server, that's the Red Hat Linux, same Linux, SUSE Linux, CentOS. There are Windows, couple of Windows servers like 2019 Data Center, 2012, 16, and Windows 10 is a desktop version. So it's a normally Windows we use in our laptop and desktops. Suppose I've selected the Windows 2019. I need to give a name, test name for this virtual machine. Next, I have to select a region where I need to deploy this machine. So when I'm building any virtual machine, it need to be located at a certain region. So across all the Azure data centers, if I'm selecting East US, this machine will be automatically deployed at East US data center virtually over there. And the cost dependent upon the location, like certain location have very high requirements, so cost will be higher. Certain region have low resource cost. Apart from that, there are maintenance cost and every cost associated with the location and data center. When there are less cost associated, at the end of this review and create, you can see low cost generating. Even from selecting the virtual machine, you can see that standard DS1 V2 size, one virtual CPU, 3.5 GB memory will cost you approximately 6,079 per month. Next, if we will come below, here's the some basic networking part. There are a lot of other things as well, but the one thing on the virtual machine part is the inbound port rule. That is, suppose we have a virtual machine running over Azure and we need to have access to this virtual machine. So by default, when we build any machine, there is public IP associated. So for every VNet virtual network in Azure, any virtual machine in Azure do have public IP associated. So we can use the RDP remote desktop in order to access this machine from our laptop. So RDP utilize port 3389. So we need to allow this selected port. Apart from this, if we want to run any other services like FTP for port 21 or SSH for 22, we can allow these ports as well. So we'll select a credential. Next, it will come to disk part. So we have option of selecting different disk like premium SSD, standard SSD or standard SSD. So these are the three. SSD are normal disk type. There are these are the rotational disk. Mostly we have HDD in our normal computers. These have slow processing in compared to SSD. So SSD is solid state disk. It has no rotational part and disk and all to read and fetch the memory. So it's need to be rotated and data need to be fetched from a specific unit of the memory. It is little slow in compared to normal SSD. So we have two options: standard SSD, standard SSD, and apart from this, there is another option, a premium SSD part. So when it comes to premium SSD part, it Azure provide manage identity and other services as well, in which you do not need to maintain a backup and all. For this SSD bar, Azure will take care of it. So there are few more things on the virtual machine like availability option. So there is concept of high availability. So what is availability? It's an availability is to maintain an acceptable continuous performance. Like if there is some fluctuation or if there is some fault or something else, our machine should continuously running. It should not be dropped, it should not be down, it should be running continuously. So there's two options. We have availability set and availability. So availability set, it exists inside same data center premises. So suppose we have one data center in central India, there's another data center at North India. So when it comes to availability set, we have two similar machine, VM1, VM2. When we are deploying them in availability set, we are actually deploying two machine in the same data center. So when users are trying to communicate to any of these machine, then the high availability. In case one of these goes down, second will be available. There's another option, availability zone. When it comes to availability zone, this VM will be located at another location. So in case there is some disaster or something happens to the similar data center, same data center, user can continue to run services from the another data center. So we can deploy these virtual machines either in availability zone or availability set. There's one more option, that is licensing part. Suppose we are 50-year-old company and we have already have data centers, servers running across the globe. And since we have already data centers and servers running across the globe, we might have already running Windows license. So when you buy any laptop or desktop with the inbuilt OS, they provide Windows license with you with that laptop. So since you pay for this Windows license, it's your same. It comes when it comes to any office, when you are building any virtual machine or virtual server, you need a license for Windows one. Even some of the Linux ones like Red Hat, you need to have license for them. Not for everyone, like Ubuntu is free, but Red Hat is paid. There are other paid and free version as well for the Linux. When it comes to Windows, they are all paid. So if you have existing infrastructure and you want to suppose migrate 5 machines to cloud, so you do not need to buy license from the Azure. Like when you build a VM, there's virtual machine license integrated with the virtual machine. Suppose you are paying 15 rupees an hour, and if you will use your own license, your price will be dropped to 10 rupees per hour. Depends upon the cost of the infrastructure and all. So if you have existing license with your company and you do not want to use Azure license, you can use your own license and you can select the licensing part and check this column. When you will check this box, your cost will be reduced as per the license cost on this machine. Next is disk part. So you can select one of these disks. You can select the encryption as well. So there are multiple option of selecting. Like normally when you have your office laptop, there's software known as BitLocker. install in this software. The purpose of BitLocker is to encrypt your hard disk so that in case if this hard disk or laptop is stolen, so no one can retrieve this. So encryption is the most important part when it comes to security. Even in almost every organization, they use some form of BitLocker or any other encryption technique to make sure that your laptop is secure from the stolen data and other cases. So when it comes to encryption, we have few options like encryption at rest with the platform managed key. So encryption at rest means hard disk is encrypted, but data when it will be traveling to virtual machine or outside the it won't be encrypted. That's the encryption at rest. So it will be platform managed key. This key for encryption will be managed by Microsoft, their own key. If you want to change this option, you can even use your own key, customer managed key. So you can create your own key, you can encrypt this disk with your own key and you can secure it so that no one can have access to that key. The reason is that when it comes to some countries that they want their data to be as secure as possible. So they do not want any key to be stored at Microsoft in order to make sure that our data cannot be captured, taken by Microsoft, stolen by Microsoft or any other entity that is managing the cloud on behalf of Microsoft. So in order to make sure that data is secure and safe, you can use your own key. And you can even use the double encryption method where first your drive will be encrypted by the Microsoft and then it will be encrypted by you. So dual encryption method, more secure, two keys being used. So it's your option, you can choose either of them.
So can you explain what encryption at rest means one more time?
Suppose this is your laptop.
Mm-hmm.
There's hard disk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when it comes to your laptop and hard disk, this disk is encrypted. Certain form encrypted means suppose my name is Nikhil. I will use some key or some formula to convert Nikhil. Like I will use each letter in the form of number 10, 11, 12, a certain number, or I will convert them into numbers. And then I will implement some formula like 2x square plus 3x. And then I will convert each letter from this formula. So number will be changed again 18, 36, 67, something like that. And this number will travel. So this number will exist inside this and only user having this key saved. Like in normal cases, key is saved for the inside the computer laptop. So if your hard disk is stolen, if your operating system is working perfectly, then only you will be able to access this data. Else you won't be able to access this data. That is the encryption. And encryption at rest, your data is encrypted when it resides inside this hard disk or you are accessing this data. That's it. When it comes to this data traveling outside your laptop, like suppose you are transferring certain data from your laptop to some other computer or server. So it's data in transaction. Data in transaction is not being encrypted by this platform. So you can use other methods depend upon what you are using. If you are traveling data is traveling inside the premises, it might not be encrypted. If you are using HTTP protocol or normal FTP protocol, then data is traveling non-secure. That's why HTTPS or SCP is being used. So HTTPS Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure and SCP Secure Protocol is being used for the secure transfer of data. So this is data at transit and this is the data sitting at the hard disk is data at rest. Am I clear on this?
Yeah, got it. Thank you, sir. So, is there any way while creating a virtual machine we can select any encryption type for data at transit?
I mean, it depends on how you are trying to communicate. Suppose This is my laptop and I am trying to communicate someone sitting at Melbourne, someone at office at Melbourne. So I can set different methods like VPN, setup of VPN. There's the data in transit and it's encrypted. Or there are other methods like using MPLS connectivity. So when data travels through MPLS connectivity, it's secure. Or HTTPS is the another method when you can use data in transit using SSL encryption. It uses SSL encryption for
Mhm.
the SSL encryption. Similarly, when it's securing data, sending a data file to instead of using FTP, you are using SCP. In that case, also data is encrypted. So these are the method when data in transit is encrypted.
So that means for end-to-end encryption, apart from this, we need additional method of encryption also.
Right. We right now we are talking about
Okay.
a machine sitting with you or
Mhm.
the machine you are using. So first we need to secure this machine in case it gets stolen or in case someone is able to access this machine directly from Azure. So someone sitting there's big Azure data center you have seen in Hollywood movies like a guy gets inside a data center in order to since he cannot hack this data center from outside so he gets inside the data center then connect his laptop directly to that machine and then start hacking the data center or certain machine. So right now data inside the data center is data in rest. Since he cannot access it from outside, now he will try to access it from inside. But when it is already secured with encryption, he won't be able to access it. He need a very large or powerful machine in order to access this data for the decryption part. That's not even a little easy. It's a lot of very hard to decrypt this data.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we can select any of the option. So right now I do not have any disk encryption set, but when we'll see key vault and all, then we'll see how to use our own managed key for the encryption part. So right now it will be platform managed. We can add any additional disk into our machine. So we can add additional like right now it's data disk 0. Source type I can select any snapshot. Suppose we have a virtual machine at our premises. This is the virtual machine on premises and we want to migrate this virtual machine to Azure. So we have options like taking a snapshot. We'll create a snapshot of on premises and we'll use that snapshot over here. So we can select the snapshot. If I will create any store the snapshot, then I will be able to select this snapshot and it will be automatically built from that existing on-prem machine. Suppose we have Windows Server 2016 running at our on premises and we want to replicate this, we can use the snapshot option. There are other options like storage block or you can use empty disk. So what is storage block? We'll see storage part later, but it's a storage unit as Azure which contains of different storage type like files, containers and other options. So we'll see it later. So we have option to select the even storage part as well. So right now it's a non-empty, complete empty disk. We can select the encryption, custom manage key or same thing. If we this is the additional disk, we can select if we want to enable to share this or not. So it's the disk path. Next it comes to networking part. In which virtual network, in which network we want to place this, in which subnet we want to place this, and what IP we'll use. So we do not select this IP, this will be automatically or dynamically allocated by the Azure. We can name it as per our choice. Right now it's test one IP. I can change it to any name, and when it comes to resolving, it will resolve according to my name. I can select other things as well. We'll see these things in later when we will discuss virtual networking. So these, I mean, most of things are interrelated. Either we are learning virtual network first, then virtual machines will come into the picture, or we'll learn virtual machine first, then other things like storage, subnet, network part, and there are other things as well that comes into the picture. So we'll get clarity on these things later. So as of now, I'm selecting all these things by default. Next, the management part. So it's a boot diagnostic, normal logs that are generated when a virtual machine boots. There's system error or some high CPU and all such log, high memory. These logs are generated, so these will come under the boot diagnostic, and they will be managed in a storage account that will be created with this virtual machine. So we can see these logs, analyze if there is some issue on this virtual machine. There is another thing, enable OS guest diagnostics. So it's a system logs. Sorry, it's a guest OS logs. So suppose this boot diagnostic is system log, system related like CPU, memory, processing, networking related logs, and when it comes to OS, this is this Windows logs or Linux logs. So any application running inside this, like this is the virtual machine, Windows running inside the virtual machine. So every log that is generated inside the Windows will come into OS guest diagnostics. And every logs that are generated on the hardware part, it's a boot diagnostic. There's few more things. Identity system assigned manager identity. This will come into the authentication part. So we can check this option if we want this to be managed by some key vault and something else. So this we'll see later. You can enable shutdown, auto shutdown. You can select certain time like shutdown time, time zone when you want to shut down. When machine is being shut down, mail will be automatically sent to the email ID you select over here.
After time set while using it also be shut down.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
If
Please.
we select a time set means shutdown
Yeah,
time, and
right.
we are using that virtual machine,
Yeah,
so at that time it will automatic shut down.
right. It will be automatically shut down and you will get a notification over your email.
Okay.
Next is a backup part if we want to take a backup or not and where we want to take a backup. So there's options like recovery service vault. We can create a just like we are creating a virtual machine. Similarly, we can create a recovery vault and we can use like this is VM1, VM2. If we want to store the backup of these VM1, VM2 and few other VMs, we can save their backup in recovery service vault. So purposes of recovery service vault is not just to take VM of Azure. Even if you have on-premises virtual machine and you want to migrate this virtual machine to Azure, then also you can use this recovery service vault to transfer all your virtual machine data to this vault. And there's another option, Azure Site Recovery, that is being used for this purpose. So this vault is multi-purpose. You can store Azure virtual machine data, disk and all, or you can use on-prem.
So Nikhil sir, I have a question. Suppose we have created a virtual machine with a shutdown time of say 7 p.m. However, we are into the middle of any operations and we have to work beyond 7 p.m. Is there any way we can change the shutdown time post creation of the VM?
Yeah, you can change them in the settings, virtual machine settings. So every parameters, most of the parameters, those are not static. We can change them.
Okay.
Apart from the things like virtual CPU or memory, we cannot change them. Apart from them, like name, machine name,
Mhm.
and all these are the parameters we cannot change. About these parameters like shutdown, OS, gas diagnostic, and all, we can change these management parameters later.
And the IP address is always dynamically allocated. Can we make that static?
It's a dynamically allocated, but you can make it static for this machine. Suppose you have the Azure has provided you 13.11.2.1 IP,
Mhm.
but you are using their own DSCP. So
Mhm.
you cannot choose this IP. Like, no, I do not want this IP. I want 14.11.3.4 IP. No, you can choose this IP, but you can make it static so that it won't change ever. So
So
if you
once
want
the
to,
IP is dynamically allocated, we can make it as static.
yeah, we can make it at static, but we cannot assign a static IP address.
Okay, got it.
Next is the tech part. So in the last class, I've told you that text, the purpose of text is to collecting a similar data. Like suppose we have a IT department, and we want to check all the resources of IT department, or we need to create a bill for the IT department. We can tag it with name IT. We can give it any value 234, yeah, ABC, something like that, and we can select all the resources. So over here it's saying 12 resources. The reason why it is saying 12, there will be virtual machine, there will be hard disk, there will be network interface card associated with virtual machine, there will be public IP address, there will be recovery service vault. So all will be tagged by this. If I want to tag just a virtual machine, so I can select the virtual machine. That's it. And if I want to make sure that every disk in our organization has disk tag, I can select another tag with name disk. So I can have multiple tags on this. Finally, it comes to review and create. I will review and create and will create this machine. Right now, I haven't selected proper parameters, so it's showing failed. But when you will process it, it will be automatically successful and you will be able to create a virtual machine. So let me show you one virtual machine that already runs on this subscription. So this is the virtual machine. Okay. So you have multiple options inside this virtual machine. Like if you want to connect a RDP session. So you want to manually connect this machine. So you can use this connect. There will be a file down RDP file downloaded, and you will be able to access this machine using this public IP. Or you can directly input this public IP to the RDP session and you will be able to log in this machine. There's option of restarting the machine from here. You can stop this machine. You can capture a snapshot in order to make sure if you want in future want to build similar machine, or if you want to make sure that in case of this machine gets corrupted deleted, you can capture a snapshot from here. You can delete this virtual machine, and if you want to open this virtual machine in machine mobile, you can click open in mobile. So there are certain things like stop. So when you are building this virtual machine and using for the testing purpose or learning purpose, make sure that you stop this machine once your work is done. The reason is that bill will be generated per hour. So if you leave it like this, like running the virtual machine all the time, there will be a lot of bill generated and your $100 in this subscription will be automatically gone in 3 to 4 days, hardly in 3 to 4 days. So when you are learning, you are testing, make sure You delete a resource group once you are done, and do not create any additional resource group. Use your own resource group, or if you do not have any existing resource group, create your own resource group. Deploy all the virtual machines and resources over this resource group, and once it is done, you can delete this resource group. So this is the public IP address, private IP address, then the size of the virtual machine. Inside the overview, there's no availability scaling exist in this machine. We can see monitoring part as well from here, like at 3:30 p.m. between this duration, there was spiked in CPU that goes up to 50%, and then it decreased because nothing is going on this machine. There's network part where this much data was transferred, and then now it is stable, then same RAM and disk operation and other thing as well. So these are the some of the monitoring parameters. Next, these are the capabilities. You can create Azure policies in order to safeguard this machine or apply some certain parameters. You can implement security, backup, shutdown, update management in order to patch this machine. Disaster recovery on Insight for the monitoring part. So these are the options that you can enable in this virtual machine. We'll see when we'll come to certain part of these machines and all. There's next thing, activity log. So when there's something going on this in this virtual machine, you can see these activity logs over here. So I created this machine. There's health even updated. Nothing else is going on this virtual machine, so there isn't any new updated, but we can see there was health event at this time. There's JSON format on all the parameters, key value pairs. So if something is going on this virtual machine, you can see in the activity logs. This is the IAM part. Earlier we discussed about the RBAC, role-based access control, where you can assign access to any user or group from this option. So you need to go to role assignment. You can select any options from here like owner, contributor, reader, log analytics contributor, monitoring contributor, virtual machine administrator login, or any other login. So these are the certain role-based access. The primary are the owner, contributor, and reader parts. You can assign it to some particular person, or you can assign it to group so that it will be automatically assigned to all the users that exist in this group. Next is tag part. So you can tag this machine with any value and name, so that in future if you want to access this machine, you can see and sort the data with this machine. See this later. Next is the extension part. So purpose of this extension, suppose a virtual machine is running. So if you want to collect some data from inside the machine and send it for the analytics, so you can install the extension inside this virtual machine, and this virtual machine will send data to this extension, and extension will send that data to analytics. Suppose antivirus, that is also extension. So you can add any extension directly from here. So when you will add extension from here, it will be automatically installed inside the virtual machine. I'll show you one. So these are the options like antivirus, Symantec, Sentinel for the monitoring and power pipelines, NVIDIA for the graphic extension, Network Watcher for the monitoring part. For the performance monitoring, there is a performance diagnostic. This is the malware. You can install this like Windows Security, similar to Windows Security Center. You can select if you want to exclude some files from this or a location or process, or you can enable it in real time. Run a schedule scan if you want to schedule a scan on this antivirus. Quick scan or full, and you can select this parameter and then OK. So it will be automatically installed inside this virtual machine. So there are other extensions as well. If you want any extension for specific purpose, like this is also antivirus. This is also antivirus. This is for monitoring purpose. This is for the performance monitoring purpose. If you want to execute some certain script to this virtual machine for the automation purpose, you can use this custom script extension. So next it comes to disk. So this was the disk that comes with the virtual machine. It was the 127 GB as per the virtual machine size. Max input output 500, max throughput 100, and it's encrypted with the integrated system integrated key. So if you want to attach any additional disk, like suppose I have 127 GB, now in future I want to add additional disks, so there will be C drive, that is temp storage. There will be, this will be also a temp, sorry, this will be also a storage, it could be the C drive. Apart from that, if you want to add D, E, F drive, just like your machine, you can add additional data disk. You can choose the number, disk name, premium, SSD, HDD size, and maximum output and input. We'll select test number 1 and save. So it will automatically create a disk inside that virtual machine, and we'll log in this virtual machine in a minute. There's networking part. We'll see it. So here we can see that RDP port 3389 is open, and rest all we'll see in virtual network part. Next, there are few other things like scaling. We'll see skill set in a minute after some time. There configuration part, identity. There are locks in order to prevent virtual machine to be deleted by mistake. We can create additional lock. We'll see it later. There are the option like Bastion server for remote login and all, or there is auto shutdown. So Nihaka, you were asking like if you, I mean if you want to change this auto shutdown, so it's option over here. You can select enable on and off, and you can change the time as well. There's an
Okay.
option to change this other parameters like backup, disaster recovery, and all. So they will come one by one when we'll discuss the backup part, storage part, recovery part, and all. And when we'll study monitoring part, we'll see these parameters. So I'm going to RDP into this machine, or I can select connect from here, RDP, download RDP file. File will be downloaded. We'll select connect. I need to enter my credential that I select added during the creation of virtual machine. I'm trying to connect to this machine. Might take some time for me to connect this virtual machine. This was the Windows Server 2019. So this was the extension that I installed, Windows Defender Firewall. So now it's enabled. By default it won't come normally, so we have to install it as a part of extension. So there are a couple of terms in when it comes to learning a virtual machine. We saw the demo on the virtual machine, how to create a virtual machine, how to select parameters. There are few parameters like virtual network. We'll see it later. So now this demo is enough for virtual machine at this point of time. So we'll give you little idea of some other parameters when it comes to virtual machine, like fault tolerance or fault domain, update domain. Initially, what is fault domain? Suppose this is our data center. This is our rack. On this rack, this is the machine on which we have built the VM. There is another rack. So when it comes to virtual machine, suppose there is power cutoff on this rack, or there is network connectivity cutoff this rack. Your machine is gone. So you won't be able to access this machine since there is power cutoff. So there should be additional, like I'm building 3 virtual machines. If I'm building all 3 virtual machine on this rack and there is disaster happen on this rack, something bad happen, so all our 3 virtual machine will be dead. So in order to make sure that our virtual machines are running fine and smooth in case something happens with one rack or one room of the server room, one server room, we'll set up it as fault domain. So when we are building 2 virtual machine, one virtual machine will be built over here, second will be built over here. So suppose something bad happen on this, it will be automatically, this will be running. So there won't be any downtime for both of these machines. There is another thing, update domain. So when it comes to guest OS that is running on this hardware, so doesn't matter if it is normal Windows your laptop, there are updates being pushed on normal laptop. Same happens with the guest OS. Updates are being pushed, they are patched with the latest OS or later updates in order to make sure things are going smooth. So when it comes to update domain, so you are building 3 machine. So Microsoft creates them as an update domain. So I'm building 3 machines. This will be installed over here. Second will be installed over here. 3 will be installed over here. And when Microsoft will push this patches or update on their guest OS, it will be installed on this machine. This machine will be rebooted. This won't be rebooted and 3 number won't be rebooted. So they will continue to work fine. So they have created the concept of update domain when updates and patches are pushed on certain machines, sets of machine. And when we are creating fault domain and update domain, the in case of update domain, other machine won't be rebooted or patched at the same time. So at any point of time, suppose we have 10 virtual machines and we have selected them in 6 update domain. So they will be simultaneously distributed among the 6 different set of racks or set of update domain. And then rest will be distributed in the same rack. So when Microsoft will push the patches on these domains, this will be rebooted together. The rest all 8 machines will continue to run fine. Next patch will be pushed on this one. So this will be continue to work fine and this all will be continue to work fine. And if they are pushing on patch on this one, rest all 9 will be continue to work fine. There's another concept when it comes to virtual machine, that is scalability. So we in scalability we create scale set when suppose there's one instance of VM running, there's another instance of VM2 running. Okay, so when it comes to scalability, we can assign automatic scale or manual scaling. In what we do in this scaling? So right now we need this machine for a website purpose. Users are accessing this machine and traffic is normal. Suddenly requirement increases and there's lot of traffic. So there will be parallel instances created on this machine. They will be almost similar to this machine and traffic will be load balanced across all these machines. And when there is less traffic, it will be it will be scaling and there will be less machines. So right now if 3 machines are running and they are heavy requirement, then it will be scale up as per our definition. Like if there is 75% CPU greater than 75%, scale 3 more machines. Now there will be 6. And when CPU is less than 25% scale in, there will be only scale in 2 machines. Then there will be only 1 machine running. And we need to define the minimum and maximum. So 3 will be minimum machine running at any point of time. And suppose 15 is the maximum machine. So scale in and scale out will exist between this. Scale out is horizontal scaling, and scale there is another term scale up, that is scale up vertical scaling. So this is the horizontal scaling. Since there's instance of virtual machine running, and when there is traffic requirement or certain requirement for processing, we are scaling out another machine. So that is horizontal scaling. There is vertical scaling in which 2 CPU, 3.5 GB of RAM is running, and we need this machine to be more powerful. Instead of having parallel instances. So what we can do, we can scale up a vertical scale so that there will be 4 CPU and 7 GB of RAM. The only drawback of vertical scaling is that when we are increasing these parameters to a single machine, the machine will be rebooted. So it will be rebooted and your all the processes or users using this machine will be interrupted. They won't be able to access this services, any website or something. But in vertical part, sorry, VM. In horizontal part, horizontal scaling, there will be parallel instances. So suppose there is only one instance running. This is the load balancer. We require more power. There will be another instance running. Now traffic, this will continue to running. This will be created at that point of time, and this will start running. So traffic will be distributed among all. I mean both of them. This is the scaling part. So let me show you in the portal, over the portal. Skill set, virtual machine skill set, add, create a virtual machine skill set. These are the normal parameters for any virtual machine that we have seen earlier. This is also normal. Networking is also normal. Here's the scaling part. So there are two options. First is manual, second is custom. So initial instance count, when you will start a skill set, there will be two of them. So initially two virtual machine will be built when I am creating a skill set. VM1, VM2. So two similar machine will be built. I want them to be custom, then I can create a custom definition like minimum number of instances 1 or 2, maximum number of instances 10. And when it comes to scale out, when there will be CPU greater than 75%, number of instance to increase 1. We can set it as 2 or 3 or 4. So suppose initially there was 2 VM virtual machines running. Now we need more power or there is more requirement of machine and they are not able to fulfill by these two machines. And so metrics that will be counted will be CPU. So if CPU is greater than 75%, there will be increase in instance, like I want to build only one machine or I want to build two more machine or three more machines. So I can select that option over here. Scaling when CPU is less than 25%, decrease the count by 1. So earlier there was 2 machine or 3 machine. Initially there was 3 machine. Since CPU is less than 25%, so it will be decreased to 2 machine. So we can define the custom options, or there is another option of manual where it will be automatically increased and decreased on the basis of the load and all.
So Nikhil
This
said the threshold value for scale in and scale out is fixed 75 and 25, or we can change that as per our requirement.
you can change it. can set up it as 80. You can change it to 50. Depends upon you. Next is management, health, and all are the same parameters that comes under the virtual machines. And you can create this scale side. So when scale side is created, two or more machines are created, and you can scale up or scale down as per your requirement. So you can add more virtual machines if they have more requirement, then you can decrease them if there is less requirement. So is this enough for today, or should we go ahead? Actually, I'm a little tired as well because I didn't slept well last few nights because my exam was scheduled today and I gave exam before this class, and somehow I cracked that exam.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations, sir.
That's why I'm a little tired too.
Maybe we can
Okay,
wrap up the class
Yes,
today
sir.
if everyone
so
For
we
agrees.
can,
today, it
Yeah.
is enough.
and you have the access to the subscription. Anyone who do not have access, guys,
Previous day, I was facing issue. I was unable to open.
try it now.
Okay,
So you can try building a virtual machine and you can explore different options that is available in virtual machines.
So, Nikhil sir, once we have created a virtual machine, we can stop it or we need to delete it.
Depends upon your requirements. So if you want to use this virtual machine again, then you can stop it. If you
Okay.
do not want to use it, you can delete it. If you want to continue using it, you can let it be running.
Okay.
But once you are done with the lab, make sure you delete all the resources. Either you delete the resources manually, or you can go to the particular resources like this, delete resource group, select the name Nikhil Dust, and delete it. So when you will delete resource group, everything will be deleted automatically.
I'm still getting that error that
What
previous
what, what
was.
show me your screen.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it's because it is asking you to install MFA.
Okay,
I mean for the MFA last time I think I enabled that. So you can
okay.
go on next. You can set up your account next. You need to download an app from Play Store, that is Microsoft Authenticator, and you need to scan it, then proceed with next. You will be able to log in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I will do. I will do that.
Any other questions? Should we end today?
Oh, that was
Yeah.
all.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for today's session.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye bye.
So
Yes, sir.
tomorrow the class
Bye,
will
sir.
be at 3 p.m. only, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.